Hi everyone, it's Mrs. Perez. I hope you're healthy and happy and staying safe. Today is about a month since we planted our raised garden bed, and it's time to harvest some of the spring mix here. Some of the lettuce that we planted. It's a cold crop, remember, so it grows well in the cold and rainy weather that we've been having. And we need to tend to some other plants like our strawberries. Tending is just caring for the garden. We have had some progress on our tomato and our pepper plant, which took a fall yesterday. Balto knocked it over, so. Okay, so here we have some of our spring mix. This is ready to harvest. This is baby spring mix, and it's maybe 4 inches tall, so we don't want it to really grow any taller than this, and we certainly don't want it to start flowering. That gives you mature leaves, and they're less tender and sweet. So we want to keep them. We want to keep it short. If we clip these, just going to clip them. And clip the outside. You don't really you don't really need to clip down too far, just kind of trimming. And we don't want to clip the middle part. So you want to be very careful not to clip this middle part here. If you clip that, it's not going to grow any more lettuce. The plant's going to die. All right, so we just want this big stuff outside here. I'm clipping that. Putting it in a culner. Culner is this bowl here with the spaces that allows you to run water through it. You really don't need to rinse it off. You can just eat it right from the garden. It's organic soil, so no chemicals were used. See how I'm just like kind of cutting it down, but not cutting in here. Okay, I'm not cutting in there. Okay, so here's our lettuce that's trimmed down. Right? We use these snips here. I showed you those in a previous video. Little snips to snip them off and trim them. This is kind of funny. This was a spring mix, but it looks like most of the lettuce is the same. There is some of this purpley lettuce down here that's growing a little slower. So now that it gets a little bit more sun, maybe it'll grow up. So we didn't clip the middle. Kept away from the middle where the growth comes from. We don't want to stun the growth. And we have a pretty decent sized culner full of fresh leaf spinach. So, or not spinach, fresh leaf spring mix. Okay, now we're going to take a look at our strawberries here. This is, I think these are alpine strawberries. And they got beat up a little bit from the frost that we've been having. I'm going to go through because I don't want all the energy to go into these flowers. So I'm going to just go in and pick out these flowers. Okay, just kind of pick off the flowers. Because we want the plant to start growing some fruit, some strawberries. So a plant's purpose, what a plant wants to do, is it wants to produce seeds. Okay? So if we keep picking off the fruit and the flowers and keep it, we want to kind of trick it into growing some fruit. Now, it did get a little frostbite. The weather's been dipping down. Okay, so there's that one. So there's our strawberries, kind of trimmed up a little bit. Let's move on over here to the carrots. The carrots are coming up. Oh, look, a little bit of lettuce. A little bit of lettuce snuck over here. We're going to pull that out. I don't want lettuce competing with our carrots. It was a windy day when we planted our garden, so pull that out. So here's our carrots. It looks like grass right now. They're so kind of short. In a little while, in a couple weeks, we'll not weed through, but we'll pick through our carrots and kind of pick out some of the carrots because we want the biggest and best roots to take over. So we'll tend to those in a little bit. Here's our bunching onions. They're kind of small still, but they look like grass too. But you can see they're coming up. Okay, so they'll get bigger and bigger. And our other strawberries, which definitely we need to pick off the flowers of these. And I think I'm going to take my snips and snip some of these larger leaves off. What happens when you snip these larger leaves is they grow smaller leaves, and then it winds up growing. Look, there's strawberry right there. There's strawberry. Okay, so I think that's pretty good. We trimmed off anything that was brown that was kind of struggling. We trimmed that off. We don't want it pulling the energy from the plant. We want the plant to stay nice and healthy, and all of the energy to go to the good parts of the plant that are going to produce berries. We don't want to snip too much off because it needs the leaves. The plant needs the leaves and the flowers to obtain water and sunlight for food, photosynthesis. So we want to leave just enough to keep it healthy, but keep it energized, okay? And then over here we have our second batch of spring mix. This is definitely a little different than the what we harvested earlier. It's more colorful and it's coming a little slower. So next time we harvest our lettuce, it'll be this side, and then we'll probably move it on over to the other side. So here's our garden so far. Our tomato trellis and our pepper trellis is still waiting for the plants, which we started inside. Okay, so our tomato plant and our pepper plant, which looked a lot better yesterday before Balto knocked them over, needs to be started inside. So they have a couple more weeks before we can put them outside on their trellis. I did plant a couple more seeds along here in case our pepper plant doesn't survive. I don't know how that's going to work out. I don't know if we did that in time to plant it in our garden. If not, we will just get a pepper plant that's been started at the nursery and put that in our garden. We'll just transplant it like we did the strawberries. And down in here we have our apple trees growing. We have a little apple orchard growing from our lunch apple seeds taken in the fall in October. So they're doing pretty good. The roots were probably, when I transplanted them, the roots were as long or twice as long as the tree itself. So the roots were really going deep down into that first planter. I don't know how long we'll have them in these little pots, to be honest. I think we might have to transplant them sooner than later, but we're going to start them off just by separating them and giving them their own space to grow. Okay, one more thing I'd like to do today is I'd like to start these wildflowers that we had planned on putting in our garden originally, but when I read the back, they're perennial. Okay, that means it comes back year after year. So when I read the information in the back, it said a lot of the varieties, most varieties, bloom the second year. So I want to get them started this year, even though most of the flowers won't bloom. So I'm going to start them in this box here. Okay, so we're going to put them in this flower box here. Use our scissors and just cut the seeds open. Now it says to scatter them evenly across the garden, so there's all kinds of seeds in there. You can see that. So we're just going to scatter them evenly like it says. All different varieties here. Oh, I'm going to use the whole package, I guess. And then soil should be moist. So I'm going to moisten it a little bit. Should have did that probably before I scattered them. I meant to. It's okay. And then we're just going to, there's supposed to be 1/4 of an inch in the soil, which is this little tip right here. Little tip. See? Little tip. So all I'm going to do is kind of like sprinkle it. It's lumpy. Sprinkle it on top. I'll just use my hands. Just going to sprinkle it on top here. Just to barely cover the seeds. Okay? Barely cover them. Almost like ice cream sprinkles. You put sprinkles on your ice cream. Okay? Just pat that down nice and light. Okay. Now I added some moisture to the soil, so should be good. And it says that 7 to 21 days. So maybe by next week we'll see some sprouts coming up, and definitely in the next 3 weeks. Okay, so we put our wildflower box on top of our little red cart there, along with our orchard, our mini orchard of little apple trees there on the bottom. And that's living next to our raised garden bed. We have the lettuce, strawberries, bunching onions, carrots, more strawberries, and the spring mix. And our trellises are waiting patiently for our tomatoes and hopefully our pepper plant inside. Okay, that pretty much does it for today. We harvested our lettuce, some of our lettuce. We tended to our strawberries, and we transplanted our apple trees and planted some new wildflowers that should be coming up in the next week or so. Gardening takes time, it takes patience, and it takes care. And a famous actress, one of my favorites, once said to plant a garden is to believe in tomorrow. And I think that is because of all of the time and patience and care that it takes. You have to believe that tomorrow is going to happen, that you're going to see your flowers in a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks. And if you didn't believe that, then you wouldn't plant them in the first place. So I like that saying. I think it's appropriate for today and these times, along with another saying that I like, which is bloom where you're planted. So we all feel like we're stuck where we are, but we can all grow and improve ourselves and be happy and healthy and definitely live our best life. Okay, so I'm gonna taste some of this. Yummy. Can't find that in the store. Bye, everyone.